So today I want to talk about work. And more specifically, I want to talk about deep work and how hard it is to come by finding time to focus on truly the things that matter in our own work and business. I was looking at a note in my phone today, and it's kind of the crux of this video. A note I wrote in 2021 where I felt I was really frustrated. And it was because I was sitting in front of my computer, potentially 40 hours a week, and feeling like I wasn't getting work done. And that forced me to really reflect on my schedule and my intentions with my business and my relationships and what were the things that were getting in the way of deep work. Deep work is that state of focus where you're working on things that matter and you're working on a focused thing for a focused amount of time. And afterward, you usually feel really good about yourself because the thing that you did was something that you likely set out to achieve and you did it. And that's feeling is far and few between. And you might agree with that. So I'm talking about this video, not from the perspective of an expert who focuses 100% of the time and never stalls and never delays and never gets distracted. This has come from someone who still struggles with this, but along the way has found things that work for myself. And I want to share those with you today. And so first, let's talk about how come we can't find time for deep work. And I think there's three reasons. One is a lack of focus. That means when we sit down to actually do work, sit at our desk, we don't know what to work on, or we don't know the most important thing to work on, or we just find ourselves scattered and don't know where to start. And that can be really frustrating because that allows our to-do list just to continue to pile up and we don't work on the things that matter the most. And that can keep us from focusing because even though we have the time allocated for our work, we just don't get it done. So the second reason I'd suggest is an abundance of distraction. That is our phone ringing and buzzing all day, emails constantly coming in, stuck in dozens of meetings every single week that don't feel like they have a purpose. Just mental overload, too many things going on. And I really think in this time and the rise of AI, artificial intelligence, that isn't sharpening our minds, sharpening our focus, but it is only doing the opposite. And so in the midst of an abundance of distractions, we find ourselves really struggling to focus and certainly not finding time for deep work. The third thing I want to suggest is an absence of system. That means when we go to do the recurring things that are relevant to our work, that there's no rhyme or reason. We don't do them in the same order. We don't do them in the same fashion. We lack standard operating procedures for those things. We don't have systems set up to automate some of those routine tasks that in 2025 we know is possible. And we find ourselves doing each thing like it's the first time we've done it. And I know firsthand how frustrating it can be to be doing something that you've done 1,000 times and you might even say is like below your pay grade, right? And it's something that you know you can do in your sleep, but it's filling up your time and it's keeping you from higher leverage. So those are the three reasons I'd suggest that we struggle finding space for deep work is because we have a lack of focus. We have a abundance of distractions and there's an absence of system. So I want to suggest a few things that I've done in my own work and life that have helped me find focus. One of those things is I have a notebook, and this is something that's worked for me is every day I open this notebook and I write down the three things that I want to achieve that day. Not 6, not 10, not 20, but 3. And you can see it here probably that in this notebook, it's called the Big 3. And those are the 3 things that could be work related, it could be home related, could be anything. But what are the most three important things that I do that day? And I don't always get all three of those things done, but that is the number one thing that's helped me find focus is in the beginning of the day, if I can say, what are the three things that I'm looking to achieve today? And ideally, I connect that to something that I'd like to achieve this week or this month or this quarter. That helps me at least know if I get any work done today, what do I get done? And that helps overcome that lack of focus. And sometimes I need to go a bit deeper, right? And I need to map out like who am I really trying to serve, or what is the work I'm really trying to do, or what is the outcomes I'm really looking to achieve through my work and my business. And for me, that typically goes beyond just business goals. It's more psychological. It's like, what change do I want to see in the world? What impact can I make if I dedicate my time to this work? In terms of distractions, I find myself endlessly distracted, especially as someone who's quite a digital native and is in front of screens all day. Had to do a lot of things to kind of keep my focus and keep myself from being distracted. One of those things is I just try to achieve some sort of digital minimalism, even though I'm in screens all day. For example, if you look at my phone, that's literally my desktop. I have no icon. If you look at my computer desktop, literally no icon. I just try to keep things from screaming at me. My friends can attest to this, that my phone is always on Do Not Disturb. If you try to text me, it always says, Sean has Do Not Disturb on. Because it's the texts and phone calls and constant pinging for attention that is someone who very likely might have undiagnosed ADHD. I need to remove those constant pings and distractions for my day to day. And that is seriously helped. Another thing I've done is I consolidate when I have meetings. So I used to have meetings, every single day of the week, maybe 20 or 30 meetings a week, let's say. And one of the things that I've changed over the past couple of years is I've consolidated when I have meetings. So most weeks I only have meetings on Wednesdays. And in some ways I almost write Wednesday off as I'm not going to get any deep work done on Wednesdays. But that means on the other days of the week, I have uninterrupted time for work. Another thing I've done is I've focused heavily on asynchronous work, meaning that most of those meetings can be moved to well-written communication over email. I have asynchronous video tools. For example, Clarity Flow is one I've used. Loom is pretty popular, where instead of having a 30 to 60-minute meeting that isn't going to get on our calendar until next week, until our calendars align, I can send you a 3 to 5-minute video, essentially sharing my screen and talking through a problem or an issue or a question. And I can send that to you for a response. I can send that today, even though your calendar might be full, for the next 3 days. Most importantly for me, it removes the cognitive load of me thinking about that thing for the next 3 to 5 days until we can get on a call together. So that's been tremendously helpful in helping eliminate distractions or meetings that just aren't necessary. So let's move on to number 3, the absence of systems. Systems is an incredibly important part of my business. It's a large part of my business is actually helping map people's processes and systems and then build those out so that we have standard operating procedures. There are processes that we have that are streamlined and in many cases automated. And so obviously it's a significant part of my work. And I remember when I was thinking through this 2 or 3 years ago, I was like, well, I help clients set up systems and processes in their own businesses. Well, how come I don't do it in my own business? And it was a hard lesson of practicing what you preach and saying, well, how about I carve out time so that I build out a onboarding flow for all my clients? What would it look like for me to build out a dashboard so that I have my sales pipeline all in one spot and I can click a button and it will send out a contract in an email and it will automate some of my bookkeeping. These are things I've done for years for clients, but haven't done for myself. And there's a cobbler's kid metaphor to be said here. And that helps me find time so that I wasn't spending precious minutes or hours on some of those tasks that are just necessary in the world of a consultant and an agency owner. But taking those things and because I automated them and because I streamlined them, they actually get done more consistently and often have less human error because I spent a few hours to standardize them, streamline them, and then ultimately automate a lot of those activities. And so those are a few things that I've found really, really helpful. Another one I wanted to say is Workspace. This is particularly important if you're feeling distracted, potentially working from home, working from your own office. Depending on your flexibility here and your control over your work life, one of the things that was really important for me is having a space to work in. That separation of home and work is really important for me, that I can go to a space and work. But that doesn't necessarily have to be an office or a studio like I have. It can be a cafe. It can be a library. It can be a place that is less abundant of distractions and are truly catered for work. And the sad reality is many workplaces aren't set up for deep work. In contrast, they're actually set up for distraction. And it's actually really, really hard in most offices that I've been in to actually get work done. And so it's one of the big benefits of if you have control over your workspace to make sure it's catered toward getting the work that you need to get done. So those are a few suggestions from me, some things that I've found have worked out. If there's anything I can do for you or you have any questions, drop a comment on the video and I would be excited to connect with you there. Thanks again.